Welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. Last night, I did a video about the lack of effort in the WNBA All-Star Game. I went through the poll results and how many people were super bored and some outraged. You can check that video out. I said that I would be coming back doing a separate video about some of the other drama that took place during that All-Star Game. It starts with those t-shirts, pay us what you owe us, and then it has to do with the sign, pay the players. Well, I'm going to share my thoughts on it, and you can agree or you can disagree, but let's see how I can make heads or tails of all this. I imagine my thoughts are going to be scattered, but let's jump right in. I want to start with this, the t-shirts. Pay us what you owe us. Let's talk about the t-shirts. Pay us what you owe us. I found that rather interesting because as far as I know, every player in the WNBA knew what the pay was going to be when they signed the dotted line on the contract. That's how this works. You are offered a contract. You either accept that contract and the details of that contract, or you say, this part right here about the money, I think I'm worth more, so I respectfully decline. Or maybe there are other things in your job description, etc., you don't like, so you don't take the job. If you take the job, you don't then turn around and say, pay me what you owe me. I paid you what I owed you. I'm paying you what I owe you. And you sign saying you agree that that's what you will get paid. Now you're coming out with this narrative and t-shirts saying, pay me what you owe me. I did that. You agreed with it. Well, Adrienne, if we didn't agree with it and we didn't sign the contract, then we wouldn't have an opportunity to play the game we love. That's on you. If you decided that you want to play in the WNBA and you knew what was in the contract and you signed the contract, then you're in agreement with the contract. It's not my problem as an employer to say, well, if I don't, you wouldn't be able to play. Well, that's on you. There are a lot of people who want to do things that they can't do. There are a lot of people who have hobbies that they would love to make a job out of, but it doesn't pay enough money. So they get another job. That's just the way it works. And it may sound cruel, but we all know that's how it works. Nobody forced you to sign the dotted line. Military draft, that's different. You didn't have a choice. My father was drafted into the Vietnam War. Nobody said, hey, you want to do this or you want to do something else? The WNBA draft is different. You don't have to declare for the draft. You don't have to accept anybody trying to woo you into the draft. You just say, I'd rather do something else that pays me more money, or I'd like to do this, but it's not good enough. But you don't get in there, act like you didn't know what you were owed, and now pretend that you're owed something that people are holding back from you. Really simple. Then you want more money because you say, well, if we don't make more money, then we have to go overseas and we have to play basketball overseas. And you can surely do that where they pay basketball players a lot more money. If you have decided you don't want to do that, once again, that is on you. Or you can do what, say, teachers have always done, many of them, and that is when the school year is over and the paycheck is done, you find a different job during the summer. You do something else. For those of you who say, we can't play basketball all year, it's hard on our bodies. It is hard on your bodies. It's like being a teacher, teaching all year, like going from the regular school year and then saying, well, I'll teach summer school. For a lot of teachers, they understand that's a lot. They might need a break from that. So they do something else. They find another job. Didn't these ladies go to college? Didn't they get a degree? So find something else to do with that degree. Nobody's forcing you to play basketball all year long. Find another way to make money. So I was just like, are you kidding me? With the t-shirts. And judging from other comments, I'm not alone in that. I have no problem with these players saying, we would like to make more money. I have no problem with them speaking up for themselves and making their case to make more money. I may not agree with them about that or how much money they should make or all that. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have a problem with them speaking up for themselves. I have a problem with how it's done. I feel that the fans were used in this all-star weekend. The fans were not the focus. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's all-star weekend and it's fun for the players, but it's also players who want to give something to the fans and be able to mingle alongside the fans and do something fun. But in this case, I feel like the fans were absolutely used. I'm sitting watching some of these press conferences, etc., and I'm hearing question after question after question about the CBA, about the negotiations, about the meeting, about what they want from the league. And I'm thinking, seems to me this is not the purpose of All-Star weekend. But it was a setup from the jump. It was a setup to use the All-Star game and fans who were watching, and more importantly, many who paid to be there, to use this opportunity to spout whatever it is they want to spout and push their agenda and continually say, give us what we deserve. We didn't come here to be a part of your negotiations. We didn't come here to see your t-shirt and you being extremely disrespectful to your employer. We didn't come here for that. For those who came, I stayed at home, but I didn't tune in for that either. We tuned in to see All-Star Weekend, supposedly the best of the best, having an opportunity to do various things. Skills competition, three-point shooting contest, an All-Star game. And what we were given was garbage on a garbage can lid. And this is not to say that the Indiana Fever didn't do a good job setting things up, that the city didn't do a good job. Not saying that at all. I'm saying there was a whole lot of mess that was pushed in the midst of all of this stuff. Now, let's get to more money stuff. Frankly, you have not earned a profit. You are being subsidized by the NBA. You are going to have an opportunity to make more money. As I said months ago, when this whole CBA thing started being discussed, just be patient. That's my perspective. Again, you have a right not to be patient. My perspective is be patient. Things are turning around. More eyeballs are starting to look at you. Unfortunately, because what those eyeballs are seeing is an embarrassment in many ways. So you be patient. But instead, you get Nafisa Collier, for example, who shows up at the WNBA All-Star Draft wearing an unrivaled shirt. And then I heard that they were doing unrivaled things during All-Star Weekend. The whole conflict of interest is glaring. And they asked them about why they want to make more money. And even Nafisa Collier, and I've always spoken well of Nafisa Collier, but even she doesn't do a good job of explaining why a league that hasn't earned a dime, why is that league owed anything? And then constantly putting the threat out there that if we don't get what we want, we're prepared to strike, which would be a colossal mistake. It might just be me. I don't see the leverage. I know they think they have leverage, and some of you may think they have leverage. I personally don't see the leverage. A lot of people don't watch. A lot of people don't appreciate the game. A lot of people don't appreciate the antics, including some of the behavior on display during All-Star weekend. Maybe some of you like it. Maybe some of you say, oh, let them have fun. I'm very fortunate in that I didn't watch all the stuff going on behind the scenes, saw a clip or two. Frankly, I don't want to see anybody, much less professionals, dry humping, pissy drunk, whatever they're calling their little podcast. I'm not, it's unattractive to me and I'm not interested. Maybe you are, but it was a bad look. Now, back in the day when I went to the first ever WNBA All-Star game, it wasn't like that. Then again, they didn't have social media. So these players, if they feel the need to be drunk and dry humping and whatever else they were doing, didn't have to put it all over social media. Just not the professional league you're pretending to be while you ask for more money, saying we deserve it. But back to leverage. I don't see any leverage. Supposedly it's Unrivaled. I watched Unrivaled. I gave them my views. So I'm not responsible for any poor ratings because I was in there. You guys know, some of you went live with me, but I'm not going to pretend that the ratings were great. They were not. And I'm not going to pretend that the product was great. I'm on record as saying he probably should have done this untelevised for the first year because that wasn't great either. It allowed me to get to know some of the players better because I didn't know who many of them were because I came back to the league to watch Caitlin Clark. But it helped me to know some of these players. But the league itself, I mean, the one-on-one tournament, I really enjoyed that. But the product wasn't that great. People were dropping like flies with injuries. It was just, that's your leverage? A league where people aren't really watching? That's the leverage. And how many spots will this league actually have? So if you strike and if the WNBA folds, Unrivaled is what you're counting on? I know you say, well, Caitlin Clark is the leverage. The Caitlin Clark this league treats like crap, that the officials don't do their jobs to keep people from riding her like a horse. The commissioner doesn't seem to want to acknowledge her unless she acknowledges a million other people. That Caitlin Clark. The Caitlin Clark most people are tuning in to see. And when she is injured, the viewership drops 55%. That Caitlin Clark and her own team, the viewership drops 53%. That's the leverage. The Caitlin Clark that we can see is important to this league, but not important enough for people, players, to show her respect. I'm not talking about favor her, show her respect that the league doesn't really show much respect to and allows her to be treated on the court unlike anything we've ever seen. I'm sorry, I love Cece, but she's the leverage. They don't respect the leverage enough to even handle her properly. So I don't know what the leverage is. And like I said, if one player is your leverage, you're in trouble. Because right now that one player is injured, which means it happens. And if your leverage is unrivaled, you're really in trouble. But I don't know if they're fluking. I don't know if they're pretending. They sound like they're absolutely serious. Give us what you owe us, or we're out of here. I think that maybe they think they're more important than they are, or they know they're not, but they're bluffing. And like I said, when I hear Nafisa Collier speak about it, I don't even get the impression that she believes it. She's not selling it all that well. So again, if you feel that you deserve more, then speak up for yourself. But how you do it should matter as well. And wearing the t-shirts to me is egregious. Again, this is supposed to be about the fans. You didn't even give them a good show in the All-Star game. In fact, it was the exact opposite. It was embarrassing. You threw up bricks, you threw up air balls, you gave zero effort, and yet you want to be treated like professionals who deserve and are owed more money. Is there not one player in the WNBA who understands that this is not helping your case? The way you showed up, the way you played, even the behind the scenes stuff, much of it. Who is the person who says this doesn't work? Surely Caitlin Clark understands this. A degree in marketing. I believe her mother's background is in marketing. You couldn't have paid me to wear the shirt. But that's how I'm different from other people. I'm not putting on a shirt with nonsense, and I don't care who else is wearing it. And if that means that I don't get to play, then I just don't get to play, because I'm not doing that. And I don't think there's integrity in embarrassing or trying to embarrass your employers. If you are in negotiations, if you really think you deserve more, well, kudos to you. Make your case. But if you're already in behind the scenes negotiations and having these conversations, why is it necessary to then try to embarrass your employer? And on what universe, or is it in what universe, is that ever allowed? Pink slip is yours. And that's the way it should be. And then afterwards, when Nafisa Collier was awarded MVP, Brittany Sykes was walking around with the sign, pay the players, kind of walking across like this and walking across. Like a clown, sorry, but that's what it was. It was clownish behavior for the professional basketball player who wants to be treated like a professional. You gave us zero effort, and now you're walking around with a sign over your face, pay the players, once again, embarrassing your employers. You have not earned a dime, but you're going to stand up there and try to be that disrespectful and be that disrespectful, I should say, to your employer. It was tacky, to use a word I saw in the live stream. It was tacky. It was, I would say, insubordination, and I would also say grounds for dismissal by any company that's not a joke. Adam Silver's in the house, Kathy Engelbert's in the house, and I'm not saying you have to like either of them. I am saying that you should at least pretend to respect them and not try to embarrass them. And Brittany Sykes is standing up there with all these players. And I'm looking at Breanna Stewart, who's a veteran in this league, who's a co-founder of Unrivaled, who's had to make business decisions. And she turns and sees Brittany doing that with the sign, and she smiles. Is there not anybody in the league with enough business sense to understand that you didn't do yourself any favors? The extracurricular stuff, either. Except the stuff that was acceptable. Like I said, I didn't spend time watching it. Somebody sent me a couple clips. I'm glad I didn't waste any time watching it. But besides all of that, just the entitlement that you are owed anything more than you contracted for. You agreed to your salary. And if you didn't want to, you can go somewhere else rather than accepting it and then trying to show up your employer and use your fans for your agenda. I know there are people who are like, well, I think that what happened in the All-Star game, very few people, by the way, who felt like, well, I'm glad that they just went at half speed and that they didn't hurt themselves and all that stuff. Now, some people may not have watched previous All-Star games before. I'm not looking for last year's All-Star game because they were getting ready for the Olympics. So it was a little bit more defense than we usually see. But I'm talking about, traditionally speaking, you play a little bit light. Like I said in my video last night, And then you try to keep it close because both teams want to win. So you give them a real show at the end. If your whole concern is, well, I can't put any effort in because I might get hurt, then you shouldn't have shown up for the All-Star game. You should have given your spot to somebody else. Anyway, embarrassing. You can't get out of your own way, WNBA. You're talking about what you're owed. When you're getting what you are owed, you want more. Okay, advocate for more, but do it with some sense and not try to disrespect your authorities, because that's who your superiors are. And then you totally trampled on your fans because they're not there for your agenda. Leave that behind the scenes. And then you even had a player I really like showing disrespect as well. Sophie Cunningham. I really like Sophie Cunningham. I love that she stands up for her teammates. I love that she's aggressive on the court, but I didn't love this. This is over on the Indiana Fever's YouTube page, and this was her answering some question about Kathy Engelbert at practice on Sunday.
To that end, Kathy talked about the 44 games and the amount of time your season has. Do you feel like that is too many? Do you feel like it needs to be extended in terms of the full length of time of the season? How does that fit?
Yeah, you can just tell Kathy to pay us, and then we can have a discussion. So, yeah.
What? In no other universe. Listen, I'm an Indiana Fever fan, and I am a Caitlin Clark fan. And I know that Caitlin really wants to be accepted in this league. But man, this league is off the charts, Caitlin. I hope you see that. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.